enlarge it with that. There you go. Hi,
Hello
Jerry.
there.
Oh, you sound great. How are you?
You sound terrific too, and you look even better.
I was going to say I was about to beat you with that point,
Yeah,
but
well,
you.
you got to be fast. I'm up early in the morning here.
Oh, yeah. What time? You're in LA? Where are you?
No, I'm in Santa Cruz, thank God. LA is quite a bit further south than here.
All right.
You're Tim, right?
Yeah, I'm Tim. Yeah, my name's Tim, and
Okay,
Jennifer's over here. She'll be in here in a
let me
second.
get another book. I'm trying to prop this up. I'm using my laptop because my other computer's having problems.
Okay. All right. No
And
problem.
just give me a second here.
Yeah, take your time. Get used to it.
When I'm playing this video, you don't want the video, right? You just want the Skype shown. You don't want me to switch it, right? You just want me to play it with the Skype on there.
Can you hear it?
Let me just make sure. Put your headphone.
I've made a few.
You say, yeah, I'll just keep it on that screen.
Okay. Yeah. 27. Okay. Good. Yeah. Let me get my headset on here.
So is this the book we're looking at here?
Hey, Jeff, come on in. Can you hear me now? This book right here.
Yeah, that book right there.
Wow. I'll tell you what. Listen, I enjoyed reading this book. In fact, who's our guest on next Friday?
William Martin.
William. You know William Martin?
Well, I know Bill and I are good friends.
I'll tell you, I just think the world of what you all doing with the Taoism, and I love how the fact that you incorporate it into sports. I mean, it's just amazing, and I'm really looking forward to this conversation today.
Bill is you're going to enjoy Bill. He's very different than I am.
Yeah. Well, you're definitely more. We had him on before, but you're definitely more animated and high energy Taoism, I'd say, huh?
Well, what I like to do is call it Brooklyn Tao. I'm from Brooklyn, New York, originally.
All right. I'm from Bronx. I'm from the Bronx. I feel you. So you get home at all, or what's your
I live in two places.
Okay. Oh, two places. Yeah, right. You're east west coast, right?
No, I live in Boulder, Colorado, and Santa Cruz.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
So you don't ever visit Brooklyn anymore, huh?
Not if I can help it.
It's not too bad. Just attack. Well,
No. It's kind of gentrified, and I do go back there when I have work. And I'm proud that I'm from Brooklyn. I think it's an amazing place. I often tell people you can blindfold me and stick me anywhere, and I'll be just fine.
I love that. So today, Jerry, we're gonna be on Facebook Live. If you want to make any shout out to any folks who follow Facebook, so it'll be a Facebook Live. What link can he or what link can he get on?
He can just
United Intentions.
Yeah, United Intentions.
Okay.
Just send him to ours.
All right. Can you get?
Let me ask you. Can you? I have a lot of sun coming in here. It is California.
We can see you great.
And but if I go over here, it's like.
Yeah, that's not good. You want to stay where you are now. Yeah.
Is this okay?
That's good.
Yeah.
That's good. What?
Yeah.
You said it too quick. What did you ask me?
I just want to get on Facebook so we can watch it live.
Why?
Because
we
the
don't have the
comments.
number.
What?
We don't have the call in. We have to do Facebook.
Yeah.
No. Direct connect in.
You direct for Blog Talk.
No.
You want me to direct connect now?
Yes, direct connect
Yeah.
in.
Okay.
Yeah, we're at.
So also we get on Facebook Live. Yeah. Yeah, I got half your shoulder in light and then half the shoulder. That's good right there. Okay.
I don't know how I'm gonna. Then you don't get to see my beautiful room here.
A lot of windows. Beautiful home.
Thank you. Yeah, we're 283 steps to the ocean here.
That's sweet too, huh? What's the weather like out there?
Yeah.
Is it pretty good weather right now?
It's in the 60s and sunny, really beautiful lighting, low light in the sky, November.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So the best way to reach you is wayofchampions.com. We could share with the listeners and viewers.
So, I'm sorry, what did you say, Tim?
Wayofchampions.com is the best way to share. Your information.
Well, my email is wayofchampions@gmail.com.
All right. So, I'll put that will be two-way contacting you, wayofchampions.com, and repeat that last one again.
Wayofchampions@gmail.com.
Way of Champions, gmail.com.
Yeah.
All right. So,
and,
okay. So we're gonna have on Facebook Live. We're gonna be put you on YouTube and also Blog Talk Radio, which you automatically will be part of right away. So you have 3 mediums that you'll be being shared on, which is pretty cool.
okay, so is that YouTube? Is that live YouTube or
No,
is that?
it's not live. We'll edit it. We'll edit out our commercial. We'll have a couple of commercials in the broadcast, and then
Yeah.
what we'll do is right now we're Skyping with you. This is being recorded, and
Yeah.
we'll cut it up and take out our commercials. So it will just be a straight YouTube.
Is the bear up and
And
already
then
recording?
we'll put it up within a few days.
And I'll be able to access it on YouTube. How do I access it?
Yeah. Jennifer, you okay, so recording. Yeah, okay, good. Jennifer, we're going to you have his information where you could email him all the links for YouTube, Facebook, and for Blog Talk. Okay, yeah. Jennifer, after the show, is going to email you all the links for all 3.
Thank you, Jennifer.
All right, and now the YouTube link. Now you actually can't. She won't email you the YouTube link until we edit it. We got to take out the commercials and everything.
Okay.
All right. So
Where are you located, Tim, right now?
we're in Atlanta, Georgia. Well, Roswell, Georgia, specifically.
Uh-huh. And where are you from originally?
From the Bronx.
3 hours.
Sorry.
Oh, it's the old time.
The Bronx.
Yeah. Yeah, the Bronx. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Cedric Avenue.
Oh, yeah.
Born in Manhattan. I don't know if the hospital's there anymore. It was called the Jewish Memorial Hospital. Is that there and still in Manhattan?
You got me.
Okay. Not that I'm Jewish. I was just born there. You know, everybody was at that time.
I was born in a Jewish hospital, too.
Yeah, growing up in the 60s. I think it was a New York thing. You know?
I think they were all Jewish hospitals.
Yeah, I think so too.
At least 4 of them that I know of.
Right. So what else we got going on here? So there'll be a couple commercials. He may put us on break where one commercial I think is like a minute long. We could have a chat. Just know when we're chatting, you still be live on Facebook Live. So you may want not drop any F-bombs or cursing any of that. Don't you know?
Yeah, well, it's not my style, but
All right, good, yeah. We do a clean show. We usually don't curse, and unless somebody's passionately about something happening, but usually that's not the case.
I don't think I think if you're passionate about something, you don't need to go in that direction.
I agree 100%. But you know what it is? A lot of these millennials these days, they're so used to dropping the F-bomb. It's not even they don't realize how it's inappropriate. You know, it's just.
Well, their vocabulary has increased exponentially over the last 10 years.
Yeah. Have you been keeping up with this stuff going viral at all on the internet with Pizzagate and things like that?
No, I haven't.
Okay. Anyway, that's just going. I was just
Writing.
not that we're gonna be talking about it, but it just.
That's good because I wouldn't have much to say, and I'm too busy writing my next book. So.
Oh, excellent! Yeah. You must just sit down and just write books left and right. You're on your 12th book now, huh?
In fact, right now. I should be writing, but I'm not. I have. This is my 12th book that you have in front of you.
Okay.
And I made an agreement with myself that I wouldn't stop at least until I had 13 books.
That's a lucky number, huh?
I just have a lot to say, and there's a lot that I want to put out there and write about, and it's just I really love writing.
You are up on Facebook.
Okay. Listen, writing for somebody to do 12 books, 13 books, and this is like probably your best time in the morning time. Sun's coming in, your most creative time.
Yes, it is.
You do it for like an hour or two, and then you call it the quits. For
No, I usually do it for about 5 or 6 hours.
Oh wow, that's a big.
Yeah, I get up in the morning when I start writing. I start about 6 o'clock. Then I go to 11, and then I see clients like all afternoon after a lunch break, and I go for a run, so to get everything out, and then I come back and I Skype with clients. I have teams all over the country and stuff, and we do the work then. And But if I don't have a writing project going on, then my morning is.
We should go live.
No, not yet. We're gonna do it when the show
Okay.
starts.
Okay. No,
We're good.
that's good.
We've got this.
Well, I think the writing, we're getting started in 30 seconds. They're telling me, Jerry. Sorry, the people talking by the ear. Can you tell me if you could hear the internet radio lady saying 5 seconds? Okay. Tell me if you could hear that, because Skype should be able to hear that, right?
I don't think so, but maybe.
Okay.
Have you heard a British lady talking at all in the background, giving us a time count?
I hear nothing
Okay.
Okay.
Then no.
Okay.
other than you.
All right. Okay. All right. That's fine. So we'll get started in about 5 seconds, I think.
That's probably the same thing that we were talking about.
Yeah, with that piece.
Yeah.
So that's why they can't. Yeah,
That's right.
exactly. All right, we're getting started now in 5 seconds. So yeah, we are the champions, and boy, do we have a champion on the line today. We are having an excellent show. I love when we're able to mix. I love when we're able to mix the Taoism and spiritual beliefs in with day-to-day life. That's good. Day-to-day life and how we are able to incorporate a certain belief system that to remind us of how being still and being just clear in the midst of potential chaos or aggression or sports, whatever it may be.
Mm-hmm.
It's just it reminds me of the old kung fu days, right? You remember
Yeah.
David Carradine? Kung
Yeah,
Fu?
you've showed it to me before.
Yeah, but
I've
you never seen the show, right?
No.
Oh, come on, he was my hero, David Carradine, and we have a David Carradine like on our show as well. I'm sure when I introduce him that he'll have a chance to talk maybe a little about what it's like to live Taoism type of a belief system. And I just love the fact that I have two boys who are two boys who are in
Very athletic.
very athletic year-round sports, right?
Mhm.
And if I could only, I was reading the book, and of course, I can't get them to pick up a book, so I have to kind of incorporate different things. And this book here is called "Let Them Play," and this is a great title because it's like shut up and let them play,
Mhm.
get out of their way. And this cat who's put this book together, it's a psychology sports book where
Sports psychologist.
sports
Mhm.
psychology talks all about it, what they need to do, how they can handle it, and how to handle the parents. Parents are really a big problem, I think.
Well, you're a coach. I was a coach, so
Right? Yeah,
we both
and
deal with parents.
yeah, I know. It's like in the senior care business where I'd rather deal with the client, the senior, than the children of the senior.
Mhm.
They're the crazy ones.
Mhm. Mhm.
But yeah, so we have a great guest today. He's going to be talking about this, the Taoism and the mixture of that into sports psychology. I'm looking forward to that. Also, so if you want to join in, if you want to call, you could call. What's the call, Luke? Number they call in on?
646
Yeah.
668 8246.
All right, Kid Luke, that's great. And then if on Facebook, you go on Facebook, you make comments. If you want to ask questions, we're looking at you live too as well. We can see your questions. Jennifer can see your questions, and she could actually ask questions, shoot them away. So we got many avenues. We got you covered, which way it may be. Real quick here before we introduce our guest formally, we have the Manifesting Hour Tuesdays at 5 starting next week,
Mm-hmm.
and that's hosted by the Huntress Sandra Hunt is hosting
I
that.
love
Right?
that name.
Oh,
I
yeah?
think it's so fitting for her.
Yes, I agree. I agree. So if you want to join in at unitedintention.org and start creating intentions, join the Manifesting Hour group, which is on there, and you'll get on the show, or at least apply to get on the show, and we'll get you live and start creating your manifesting your intentions. So, without further ado, today our guest is a sports psychologist. Dr. Jerry Lynch is the author of 11 books, and actually the 12th book, which I'm holding right here, Let Them Play. He is also the founder and director of Way of Champions, a consulting group geared toward mastering the inner game for peak sports performance. The parent of 4 coach, athletic, and teacher, drawing on his experience. Athletic kids. He's over 35 years of experience as a sports psychologist, coach, and athletic and teacher, drawing on his experience working with Olympic, NBA, and NCAA championships. Wow. Dr. Lynch transforms the lives of parents, coaches, and youth athletes. So without further ado, here we have calling from you said San Jose. You said
Santa Cruz.
Santa Cruz. Jerry Lynch. All right, here he is. Hey, Jerry, welcome.
Thank you
to the
very
Attention
much.
Show.
Want to be here.
Great. Well, I'll tell you, and if you want one quick question, you want to get in touch with him, I'll mention this later on in the show, but you could catch him at wayofchampions.com, his website, wayofchampions.com, or email him at wayofchampions@gmail.com. So, did you grow up with Kung Fu with David Carradine and, the reading the Tao, the Ching, and things like that, or is that something that you kind of learned later on in life?
Well, I grew up in Brooklyn, New York, and so learning about Tao was a way of survival, really.
Yeah.
There was a lot of Kung Fu going on in my neighborhood.
I bet.
But I definitely needed actually to find a way because Tao means the way
Right.
in Chinese, and but I need to find a way out of the struggle and out of the pushing and forcing and making things happen in life, and obviously for all of us, it really doesn't work if we just sit down and notice. We need to have a way to get through and navigate the uncharted waters of all this craziness that's going on. And there's a lot of that in sports. And when I saw that, I realized that, so I can make it happen in a way that's not so pushful, forceful, more or less going and flowing with what's happening as opposed to trying to make something happen.
Yeah, and it's great because the way I look at it too is most of us go through life as a flowing wherever the stream takes us, and having a belief like Taoism or even whatever strong spiritual belief you may have or whatever type of way, it's almost having a rudder. It puts a rudder in you where you could direct yourself a little bit more into the flow. I mean, you want to be part of the flow, but you want to be able to not just take it to the extremes of wherever the rough waters is. You want to be able to handle that, and I think having that type of internal belief and incorporating that is critical. And when did you discover Taoism, and when did you incorporate it into? Because it's apparently you've been involved in sports. You have 4 kids now doing sports.
I have 4 very athletic kids. They're grown up and they're still athletic actually because they wound up loving sport. Because my wife and we let them play, as the book says, as opposed to getting in the way and giving the game back to them. And I think that's really important because a lot of parents take over the game and they get in the way.
Yeah.
And in terms of discovering Tao, I've always been a student of philosophy. In college, I majored in English literature and minored in philosophy. So I always had a propensity and attraction toward philosophical ways of looking at life. When I moved to Boulder, Colorado, back in the 70s, and I was running in the mountains, I met a man who was teaching Taoist philosophy. He was a PhD philosopher at the University of Colorado. And he and I would go on 4 and 5 hour runs up in the mountains. And you could imagine where the conversations went, him being a philosopher and me being a psychologist.
Right.
And, that was the first time, Tim, that I actually discovered that there's it's a very practical philosophy, Tao is. And I saw how I could apply it to my running. And then I thought, well, if I can apply this to my running, why can't I apply it to all sports? And that's how I discovered that. And then I just started reading more and more and more, and actually did a lot of postdoctoral work in comparative religions and philosophy, Eastern philosophy, and got to see the real deal and application of these philosophies to the field of athletics. You know, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was saying, well, that's amazing how because I do see it as a practical belief system. I don't even want to call it a religion, but I guess it is in a sense. But well, in Brooklyn, you either grew up Jewish or Catholic. So did that challenge that? Had you ever get your beliefs challenged in the sense of, when you brought Taoism into your life? Did it fit in well? Did it blend well? Or did it oppose?
Oh yeah. Well, I grew up Catholic. I went to all Catholic schools and played sports and what have you.
Yeah.
And I was the one challenging Catholicism. So it
you were that guy, huh?
Yeah, like I would ask the nuns or the brothers, how come we can't eat meat on Friday when they can do it in Spain and that's a Catholic nation? And so I was always in trouble. So I had to come up with a way. And so no, it didn't challenge my beliefs. What it did was it challenged my soul to be open to different ways of looking at life. And Catholicism taught me a lot, and there's a lot of Catholicism that's in the Tao and vice versa.
Yeah.
All religions are connected on some level.
Right.
And we see the connection when we read the holy books, whether it's the Quran or the Bible. It doesn't matter what book it is. We're basically different. We're on different paths going to the same light, if I'm making sense.
Absolutely. No, it's just many roads to the same source,
Yeah, exactly. And there was no conflict at all.
Okay. Well, I love the name of the book, Let Them Play, because tell me if I'm right on this, is the reason why you titled this was, so many parents, so many people get involved in the kids' sports, and they just kind of ruin it for many ways, because either they raising them as they got to be this perfect kid and you have to play it perfectly, and it kills the whole essence of the fun of the sport, or they are just always criticizing the other people or the other parents, the referees, or whatever that may be. And your title, Let Them Play, was it basically like, just shut up, get out of the way, and let the kids freaking play?
Yeah, in fact, I like your title better, but it wouldn't sell. I mean, I could just see a book, shut up, get the hell out of the way, and let them play. It even rhymes. But you're absolutely right. You've got the concept down, and in a Bronx Tao sort of way.
Yeah,
but
absolutely.
The thing is, so many parents are living vicariously through their kids.
Mm.
They're not achieving in their own life, or they didn't achieve in their own life, and now their kid is going to do this. And so they take the game away from the kid, and they're hoping that the kid catches the next train to Stanford and gets a scholarship. And if the kid does well, I must be a good parent. And what I try to do, Tim, is I try to show parents, we all have pure intention. And those parents that are getting in the way, they don't want to get in the way. They just want to do the right thing. And what this book does is it just says, you know what? You're like me. I made 5,000 mistakes with my first kid. By the time I got to my fourth, I only made like 75. And so I improved. And it's all about trying to find a way where we can give the game back to the kids and have them have a lot of fun and really enjoy it. And not to, growing up in Brooklyn, New York, I mean, I never saw my parents from 7:30 in the morning till 8 o'clock at night, other than for dinner and lunch. And first base was somebody's baseball hat. Second base was a cardboard box. Home plate was a piece of wood that was square.
Stickball.
And we played hour after hour after hour. And from that neighborhood, we had five athletes go on and become professional athletes.
Wow.
You know, we all went and played 3 or 4 sports in high school, went on to college and played athletics. And so that was without parents. So I'm really reaching out to parents, and I'm saying, you know what, there's a lot of joy in mindful parenting, mindful sports parenting. And what I do in the book is I make suggestions. There's a code of conduct there, how to not only enjoy the game yourself as a parent more and not get uptight and nervous and stressed and angst, but also to have your kids have much more fun. And when they have more fun, they're going to play better. And they'll remember you as that kind of parent.
Absolutely. And I love the code of conduct, which I want to talk about in just a little bit. But one of the questions that I have, and a lot of parents have, is a lot of kids these days will get into a sport and they immediately go into, I'll try it out, and then they want to quit. And parents just, to me, what concerns me the most is if you get in the routine where your kid is quitting everything he tries because it gets challenging or it's not the immediate gratification aspect that our society and media feeds into kids these days, it doesn't serve them well when they get out into the real world where you just can't try something and just quit and not buckle down and really kind of find that inner sense of accomplishment and power within yourself. What are the recommendations, or what's your approach in helping kids and parents perhaps not having that quitting mentality?
Well, I think, Tim, I think what we have to do as parents is we have to determine whether it's quitting or it's making a good decision. Sometimes when your child doesn't want to play a sport, there's a good reason for it. And to label him as a quitter, or he can't finish something, or he doesn't complete something, might not be accurate. It might be a very good decision that this young child has made to not continue in that sport. So we have to take time to discern that. And the way to discern that is we have to listen, ask questions and listen, and validate the kid. So I have this little moniker. It's called LOVE, L-U-V. L is listen to your child. U is understand by asking questions. And V is to validate them when they give you an answer. I had one child who was an amazing athlete. Well, all of them were amazing athletes. Fortunately, I didn't have to get near that. It wasn't my doing. But he came one day, and he was a state champion point guard for his basketball team in high school. And he's now gone on, and he's a head basketball coach at a college. But that kid came to me and he said, "Dad, I don't want to play basketball anymore." So instead of thinking, God, my kid's quitting, I had the presence of mind to say, is that so? Why is that? And then I listened to him. And then he would give me a reason. And then I would ask him another question, and he would give me a reason. And then I said, you know what, you make a lot of sense to me. Why don't you think about it for a week and come back and let me know what you're still thinking? And at the end of a week, less than a week, he came back and said, Dad, I'm going to play basketball. Would you pick me up after practice today? And what I did was I gave him the space to think about it. I enabled him. I empowered him. I inspired him to find his own way through listening, understanding by asking questions, and validating his responses. So let's not assume that quitting is really quitting. If it is quitting, the same techniques work.
Yeah, that's part of, I think in your book, one of your chapters you wrote, less control is more control, or something like that, in the sense that if you don't feel, like you said, he was at a learning moment right there, and instead of you jumping on it and saying, what are you quitting for? I'm like, you just started this, you got to push it through, you got to blah, blah, blah. You sat, you listened, you used your LUV, and you basically let him have the control to decide what he really wanted to do. And in essence, that gives you, I don't know, it gives you control, but it gives you the sense of you are you're controlling it, you're creating an environment, you're manipulating it in a positive way, an environment where your child can learn to make his decisions on his own with proper guidance of information coming to him, rather than listen to their friend tell them, quit, whatever it may be.
Well, sports, I always see sports as the greatest spiritual journey one can take. This is a wonderful spiritual opportunity to enable a child to go inside, make decisions, as you say, Tim, so brilliantly, to go inside and to figure out why, the when, the what, and the how of life. And if you look at sport, everything that the child learns in sport can be applied to their life, whether it's in school or later on when they get out into the work world and get married, have a family, whatever it happens to be. So what I'm doing in this book is I'm really helping to guide parents to see the value of the child's sport, not so much as let's get a scholarship, but let's find out more about life. And the parent becomes the guide, the mentor, and lets the child play,
No,
basically.
absolutely. And I tell you, I can't agree more with you, Jerry, in the sense that our kids today, like there's a lot of coddling going on with a lot of the young kids. There's this big thing about triggering words, and kids are getting triggered, and they're giving them crayons and color books to deal with their emotional fallout when they don't like something that didn't happen, and I just don't see from the bigger perspective that being a very healthy approach of handling kids when they have when they fall on their face or when they scab their knee, because I think in the real world out there you can't how many times you're triggered as growing up. I'm triggered all the time, and if I have to respond or have to be calmed down or put in a state of mindlessness when I'm triggered, oh my God, I'd never get anything done, nor I would have any respect. And that's not how life really is. And so that's why I think sports is such an important aspect of getting past that point, because you're learning, you're learning how to reach excellence more so than it is just to be a winner. And I think it's a big meme and a big the motif of your book is that, I'd say, after reading it.
To your point, and taking off on what you said there, Tim,
Yeah.
one of the early exposures I had to the Chinese Tao was a statement from the Tao Te Ching, which is, we lose, yet in this way win.
Yeah.
And what a wonderful, amazing life lesson. Let the kid fall on his face. Let the kid get knocked down, knocked out, quit, experience all of that. And what about the whole concept of what have we learned from that? Why are we better athletes? Why are we better people? What went well? What needs work? So sport, in a very short period of time, maybe an hour in a game, oh my, we learned all of these lessons about failure, and failure becomes our great teacher. And from this teaching experience, we can apply in the future when we don't get that job, or my book. This book you're holding in front of you there was rejected for publication 9 times.
Wow. Why?
Yeah.
Just out of curiosity, why 9 times?
Why?
They didn't like that you're from Brooklyn or something?
I don't know. Somebody had it in for me, and they just decided we're not going to let this guy go forward with it. I don't know, but I had already written and published 11 books, and why was I struggling with this? I don't know, but I do know this. Every time I got a rejection, I asked the publisher, why do you not like this book, or why do you not want it? Now, some of them said, you know what, it's not the direction we're going, or we don't think there's a good market for it. It's well written, but we don't. So it wasn't like really super hypercritical.
Yeah.
But I learned from all of that feedback what I needed to know to write the book that you have in front of you now. And then when I got it into the hands of my agent, she took it out. We had 3 publishers who fought for it, who wanted it. And so how did that come about? It came about from me learning from my mistakes. I lost, and in this way I won. And I can apply that to everything I do. Any kind of failure, setback, error, mistakes, major loss. I work with a team. They're going to a national championship and they lose. And I say to them 2 days later, why are we a better team because of that loss? And they all get shocked and wonder, what do you mean we're a better team? We just lost the national championship. And I said, no, you did a lot that went well. And you learn from this loss. The next year they go back and they win the national championship. Why is that? Because we lose and in this way win. That's a 2,000-year-old concept coming out of the Tao Te Ching.
Isn't it amazing? And to this day, we're not letting a lot of times parents and media and society doesn't let kids fail, and we enable them so much to the point where they can't fall on their face, and they can't. We're holding them back because they can't experience that win through failure. And I find it amazing, and the fact that they didn't want to publish the book, I think for our listeners, should make you want to go out and buy the book. It's kind of like the media today. Whatever they say, just think the opposite and then just do it. So if they say don't buy the book, then buy the book. You know. So but yeah, that is one of the most important lessons, and it's hard though. And I'll give a good parent, and we have these helicopter parents these days, you know, always hovering over their kids and worried about whatever reasons and what's going on. But if we don't let them fail, we don't let them fall on their face, and at least understand that, hey, you know what, that really the only person who's going to pick you up is going to be yourself at the end of the day. I mean, we'll be there to support you, but we have to love you enough to let you fall on your face. And that's not easy to do, you know?
No,
I mean,
no. And that's because we in our own life, for ourselves, are interpreting failure as something bad. So what we do is we project that onto our kids, and then we turn it around and we put it back on ourselves like we're failing as parents. So we get into this vicious cycle, and it's horrible, and it's painful for a lot of people. But it's good to read a book like this, or any kind of concept that will take us out of that box of being stuck and incarcerated mentally in our minds.
yeah.
You know, about what loss really is all about.
Yeah, absolutely. And I see it all the time when that happens. And I love the fact that what you focus on in your book, and this part I like to spend a little time on before we take a break here shortly, is you call it selfish caring, you know, and it's a hard concept to incorporate into, not a hard concept. It's for the average person, it's a hard concept to understand that you got to be selfish caring in sports, because sports just has this connotation of, you know, me against you. You know, I got to take you down. You know, I got to win at all costs. And I love the more combative sports. Like I'm one of the wrestling coaches. Both my boys went to states in wrestling, and so that's a very combative sport. But this is not only a selfish caring, and then when of course you talk about opponent later on, which we'll talk about, but the selfish caring is very much so incorporated into that, because I have one son who practices that, and he got third in the state. I mean, he's one of this selfish caring person, where you call it the act of devotion to another. Now, explain how that looks like for, say, in a wrestling situation, of how a kid can have this type of selfish caring when you're basically your cortisone or all your biochemicals are reacting, going crazy. You're trying to survive here. You're not getting pinned, or you're going to pin someone. How does that approach look like in that environment?
Well, that's a great question. Give me 30 minutes and I'll maybe get close to answering that. No, but let me try to
I
sum
love
that
you,
up
Jerry. I love you.
in this way, Tim. Look, I was a distance runner. I still am, and I run all the time. But when I was competing and I would get to the starting line, I wanted to win that race. I wanted to be the first one across the finish line. However, I can't do that unless I care about my opponent. My opponents are really my partners. And the reason why they're my partner is I'm never going to run my best time unless I come up against you and you really put it out there and you run your best. And that challenges me to be at the top of my game. So what we do is we compete together. And this selfless caring really comes from the definition of the word competition. So that's why it would take me 30 minutes. But let me go back to the definition of competition. The Latin root, being a Catholic boy, I know my Latin well, and brother Bill would be very proud of me. He's long gone, but it's compatiere. Compatiere is the word for competition. And what it means when translated is seeking together. So competition is the act of seeking together. In order to seek together, I want to look in your eyes and thank you for showing up. Go back to the wrestling match. When we get on the mat and we shake hands before the wrestling match begins, I look in your eyes, and mentally and in my heart, what I look at you and I say, hey, Tim, I really appreciate you coming here, and I hope you bring your best game today. Because when you bring your best game, it's going to elevate my game. And if you don't, I might beat you on the scoreboard, but I won't find out how good I can be. So it's a challenge. We want to challenge each other to raise our levels, and it looks something like this. You come together like this, and you come against each other, but you're with each other and for each other, and you rise from that place. So it's the selflessness of giving the best you've got on that day so that I can actually help you to find out how good you can be. So now what this turns out to be is I'm not worried about you as my enemy, as someone I need to defeat, as someone I need to annihilate. You're my partner. And I look at you as a guide, as a way for me to dig down deep inside and find out what I'm made of at this particular moment in life. And at the end of the match, we come together and I look at you and I thank you and I bow to you for all the greatness that you brought to the mat today. And that's what I look at as selfless connection.
That is just wonderful and incredible. And when we get back from break, I want to continue with that thought because it's an honor. It's an honor code. And let's talk about honor in sports and honor in this concept, what you just said of your opponent, because there's movies that share that type of, especially combative movies that share that type of belief. But to truly incorporate and have the intention of it being an honor experience when you're going up against an opponent, whether it's wrestling or it's football or it's basketball, I think it creates a whole nother level of energy and vibration of that experience that you're actually going to gain that you can't even measure. So we'll be right back with Jerry Lynch talking about Let Them Play. Hey, we muted there. You could talk for a couple of minutes. Great. This is good stuff. I love it, Jerry. Great stuff.
Well, I like your I like where you're going with it all.
Oh, absolutely. I'm a little late to the party with Taoism, but I'll tell you what, I'm here.
Well, it's honestly, as the Dalai Lama would say, it's not about Taoism. It's about us as human beings, people, and all of this is inside, and it's the Taoists that saw that inside and pulled it out and talked about it.
Hold on, Jerry. We're ready to come back here. Sorry, it's a short commercial, but we'll carry that. All right, we are back with Jerry Lynch, author of Let Them Play. You can reach him at wayofchampions.com or wayofchampions@gmail.com, talking about Taoism and sports and the psychology of it all. And we just left off talking about the honor in the game of sportsmanship. And it is, I think people kind of look at it from a perspective, from my perspective, look at it from, well, it's an old, not hackneyed saying, but it doesn't mean much when you say the honor of sports. But to me, I think it is actually the most important aspect of sports, because when you are able to bring honor into your opponent, with your experience with your opponent, whatever it may be, a team or an individual, you elevate. Like you said, I love your example of when two people come together and then they rise up. I mean, that is a beautiful example, or at least showing someone what it actually can happen when you have the right intentions going into that battle or that sports environment. Because if you don't have that, where a lot of kids these days are not being taught that, they're being taught honorless sports, and so it's like you do what you need to do to screw that person over, or you need to do what you need to do to I don't care if you have to rip their throat out, you win no matter what. It's all about winning, and that's not really what it's about, is it? And that's not what your book's about. Your book's about excellence.
It is, and it's also about winning, but it's a different kind of winning. And there's winning on the scoreboard, but there's winning on the inside as well. And you mentioned honor, and when we can honor our opponent, that's a victory. In fact, when I work with these teams, I teach the athletes how to be honorable. I teach them how to be humble. I teach them how to be selfless. What I do is I teach in building a championship culture. we talk about the 11 core values that drive winning. I don't mean on the scoreboard. I mean winning in life. And those like fearlessness, tenacity, selflessness, respect, trust, honor. These are all these spiritual virtues that when you get that and you apply it to the arena of athletics, everyone goes higher. Everyone rises their level. And the irony of the whole thing, and I teach this to my teams, is that when you play with your heart, when you compete with heart, which means incorporating all of these spiritual virtues of selflessness and fearlessness and tenacity and integrity and patience and perseverance and trust and respect, your game goes higher because you're not stressed and angst over having to beat someone. If I'm in the act of having to beat up on someone, I'm already tense and I'm not going to play my best game. So I take the focus off of that and I put it on these spiritual virtues, teach people how to be selfless, how to give to each other. And as a result, their game and level goes higher. Now, having said that, I want to say this, and it's not in the terms of like, look what I've done, because it's not really what I've done. But I've been fortunate to be part of 36 national championship teams in the last 25 years.
Wow.
In major schools like Stanford and Duke and Maryland and Harvard and all of these institutions. And I believe to this day that the reason why I'm never without work and the reason why we have these 36 national championship teams is because people are internalizing these spiritual core values that drive winning in life. And the byproduct of that is winning on the scoreboard. If a team doesn't win, because I've had 60 or 70 teams that have gotten to a Final Four that didn't win the final game. But the fact that they can get the most out of themselves is because they compete in the fashion that we're talking about. They seek together their greatness. They incorporate the honor that you so well mentioned, and the selflessness and all the other wonderful virtues. And they go out on the field on any given championship day, and they're not worried about beating up on someone. All they're doing is upholding their virtues that they've learned to internalize. And then they become not only better athletes, but better people. And it's a much more joyful experience. That's what we have found.
Just off the top of my head here, just thinking, do you know some well-known athletes who might actually live that type of experience that you're talking about, that kind of that unknowing or knowingly that Taoist belief in sports?
Oh, absolutely. I work with
and some that you don't too.
some I don't know. Well, I find out almost every day athletes that I didn't even know were using this methodology.
Wow.
And these ways of looking at sports. Right now, I have an ongoing consultancy with Steve Kerr, who, by the way, wrote a beautiful foreword to this book. Steve Kerr, for those of you who don't know, is the head coach of the Golden State Warriors, and they're not doing too badly. They're an example of a team that incorporates these values. And in fact, their spiritual values are values. The first one is joy. And the next one is compassion. And then competitiveness and selflessness. These are the things that I talk to Steve about all the time and how to incorporate them. So that's the top of the game right now. If you look at basketball, they are the model of excellence. And it's not because they're winning games. It's because, and they lost last night, by the way, just an aside, but double overtime. But it's not because they're winning games. It's because they have the relationship game down. They're winning the relationship game, which means people working together for a common cause, something bigger than the game of basketball, something bigger than the game of sport. They come together and they work together for something bigger than any individual. And that is the love for each other, right, being selfless together, caring about each other, establishing relationships. And that's what success is all about. In any corporation, if we want to go to the corporate world, these same principles hold true in terms of the corporate culture. When you have the relationship game won, the bottom line is definitely something that we favor, and the same thing in sport. But let's look at all of life. Go home to your family and be selfless, be giving, be respectful, and see how successful that family becomes. And so this book is, you know, it permeates the souls of everybody.
Yeah, it definitely could be through general association. Not only, I mean, that's why sports is such a fantastic indicator uh, of success in life, because it takes all the issues of in life, whether it's your work environment or your relationships in an intimate relationship, or your relationship with your parents, or anything that you do outside of life, outside of sports. It's a micro version of it, because you're experiencing failure, you're experiencing success, you're feeling winning, you're feeling losing, and you could incorporate that in anything you do, and especially if you take in this type of belief system, this really practical process of Taoism, and incorporate that into your day-to-day life. My God, wouldn't we be in a great world right about now, if we were really, everyone is incorporating this at this point? There wouldn't be such chaos and anger and division and divisiveness out there. But let me ask you a question about the kids here. Right now, there's a lot, that old kind of social justice, where everyone should get a trophy no matter what you do, because we want to, we don't want to hurt your self-esteem. What's your take on that? And then I'll want to ask you a question about another coach, what he said to me on that concept. Go ahead.
Well, just look at me right now.
Come on, everyone should get a trophy. Come on, everyone. You don't want to hurt their self-esteem and hurt their pride. Come on, even though they didn't do as well as the other person, they should not be treated differently. Everyone should be treated equally. Come on.
It's not where I'm at. We're not all equal. We need equal opportunity.
Good point.
And if given the opportunity and it's equal, then you can dig down deep and find out what you're made of, and then achieve whatever you're capable of achieving. But there are players, you take a team, like a kid's soccer team, say 13-year-olds. There are some kids on that team who work so hard. They show up to practice 15, 20 minutes early. They stay after practice. They work hard. They're very diligent, and they're very good athletes as well. They might be extremely athletic. And then there are some kids that just watch butterflies. They're standing in the goal, and they're looking at the butterflies and stuff like that. They're not working hard. And what we do, we give them a trophy, and we basically say to them, you can do anything you want, and you're going to get rewarded in life. And then we send them out into the world, and they wonder why they're not getting a paycheck.
Or they're at their parents' house in the basement smoking pot while playing video games.
Okay, you can go there. Exactly.
But you're absolutely right. And one of the coaches, I can't remember his name, he said, listen, I treat all my players fairly, but I treat them all differently. And and he went on to further explain that concept. And a lot of people who think it's all about equality, but it's not. It's all about what you said earlier. You hit home right out of the park, Jerry. It's about an equal opportunity. Everyone has the equal opportunity. So this player, I think it was a football coach, he said, listen, if I have a player who could throw a ball so far, I'm going to treat him differently, spend more time with him, put him in different positions than I would other players. But if another player did the same, was able to have the same talent as he did, I'd treat him just as equally as I'm treating him. So I'm treating him differently, but I'm treating him the same, if that makes sense.
It does make total sense. Tim, people don't realize that we're doing a disservice to these youngsters, a total disservice, when we don't teach them about life. Everyone gets a trophy. Everyone in life does not get a trophy. So what happens is they come out of sports, and then we have what we look at now as the entitled generation. Do you notice how entitled so many kids seem to be?
Makes
right?
me want to vomit.
I mean, it is a word that just hearing it makes me cringe. And I remember my kids growing up, and the parents being asked, well, what are we going to give all the kids? Well, God, we didn't win a game. They didn't work hard. They goofed off all the time. So let's give them a big trophy and tell them that if you do that in life, you're going to get rewarded. And so really, the Olympics give medals to the first three places. And if you come in fourth by 1/8 of a second, you don't get rewarded for that. But if you work a little harder, maybe you will get second by 0.8 of a second. And so it's a learning opportunity. And you were alluding to it a few minutes ago. Sports is a wonderful, beautiful microcosmic classroom for all of life. Why? Because if you're on the mat as a wrestler for 20 minutes or 15 minutes, you learn more about yourself and life than most kids just walking around the street doing nothing, hanging out, learn in a year.
Amen.
And so it becomes this classroom for life. And we have to look as parents, what are we teaching our kids when everyone gets a trophy and nobody fails? I want kids to learn how to fail. In fact, they've done a lot of studies to show that kids who were allowed to fail are more successful out in the work world than kids who were protected and pampered, and all this whole generation that's becoming entitled. Look, if I get a trophy and I don't show up for work, what do you mean you're going to dock my pay?
Yeah. I got a trophy. Come on. I don't have to go to work. I got
Give
a
me the
trophy.
money. I'm entitled to that.
We're going to take another quick break. This was a quick break, but when we get back, let's talk about sportsmanship way and how we can teach our kids how to lose. If you know what I mean, the proper way of losing rather than perhaps the typical way of how kids lose. Because in losing, you win. We'll be right back with Jerry Lynch. It's a short break. I wouldn't break
I'll do
this
it
one.
right when it goes out.
Okay. All
Just in
right.
case he talks.
All right. Jerry, you are wonderful. Listen, after the show, after we cancel it, stay on the line. I'll catch up with you for a second, okay?
Okay, sounds good.
All right, we are back with Jerry Lynch, author of Let Them Play, an incredible book on, in fact, they didn't want you to know this book. This is available. They didn't want it to come out. That's how incredible it is, so rushed to buy it before they take it off the market. It's an excellent book on how Taoism and sports and having this belief system, how our children can learn to not only embrace sports and become not just winners, but learn essence of excellence, but how that could be transferred into real life and real situations that could only make your child have a healthier, better, loving life as they grow and learn. So, Jerry, it's tough. As a parent, especially as a parent who's involved with kids who are year-round sports, and and it's hard, and I totally get it. We do, and even myself, who I considered somewhat enlightened in reference to handling the learning moments of a child and the psychology of a child, and how you want to, prompt them on. You can't just demand things from them, otherwise they lose their spirit. But it's tough not to be vicariously living through your children, because I wrestled in high school. I did play different sports, and there's that sense of your child being raised, especially if it's the same gender. It doesn't really matter, but if it's the child being raised, you want to have those likes and those similarity experiences. Like, wow, I had a great time when I would hang out with all my folks in the wrestling team afterwards. You're going to enjoy that aspect of it too as well. But how do you teach them how to lose? Because when you don't want them to lose, you're there, and it's killing you when they're whatever they get struck out or they miss the free shot or whatever. And how do you teach them how to lose if you don't want them to lose?
Well, again, it goes back to when you read the book, parents will understand a redefinition of what winning really is.
Right.
And what losing really is. I think losing is not giving your kids permission to lose. I think that's the greatest loss. It's a lost opportunity. You lose the opportunity to learn a valuable lesson for life, so that when you look, if I didn't learn how to lose, and I certainly did growing up in Brooklyn, I learned how to lose. Now, because of that, I didn't quit after I was rejected for publication. And I've had several books that were rejected for publication, but I just kept getting back up and kept trying and kept going and learned that the valuable lesson of perseverance. My gosh, I mean, perseverance, what a concept, to persist and to keep going in the face of adversity. Look, life is hard. Life is difficult. And these kids today, it's more difficult than when you and I were growing up. Much more challenging. And so we have to train them. And so what a great opportunity to get in sports and learn how to deal with loss right there in 1 hour. Wow.
Yeah.
So what I do in this book is I help parents to understand that loss and setback and errors and mistakes are wonderful ways to learn how to forge ahead and be even better than we were before we had that loss.
What would be a comment or some words of wisdom that you'd share with a player or maybe one of your kids? They just missed the 3-point shot that lost the game, and they came off. You know what they're thinking about themselves and about the whole situation. They let the whole team down. They let all that, and they walk off the court and they run into you. What do you say to them? What the hell did you do?
You should have passed it. It was an open man on the left wing. I tell them that Michael Jordan missed 37 shots at the buzzer for 3 points that could have won games. And that's true.
Yeah, I'm sure.
But the only thing you want to say to a kid after a game, there's only 5 words you ever need to say. And we should all write these on our forehead backwards, so when we look in the mirror, we'll see what they say. Those 5 words are, I love watching you play. That's it. I love watching you play. And then when they get older, like one of my sons now is a basketball coach, and he just had a big loss in his 3rd game. I said to him on Skype, I said, Sean, I love watching you coach. Now, I could have gone into all the details of what he could have done at the end right there, the inbounds play, God, But no one's going to learn anything from that. And the truth of the matter is we need to go on. The next day, all right, the next day is the time to analyze the situation as a parent. But tell them, I love watching you play. The next day at breakfast, the emotion's gone. They're settled down. Everything's cool right now. And what you do is you say to them, so how did you feel? You see, you start asking them questions. You go to the love route again. Listen, ask questions, and validate. How did you feel? What was that like? What do you think happened at the end of the game? What could be different? Would you change anything? No criticism, no instruction. Let them dig down inside. And then you could finally, the last couple of questions, ask them things like this. And this is in the book as well. So tell me, you missed that shot, but what went well in that game? So let them come focus back on what went well, because they're perseverating on what went wrong. The next question is very pivotal. Not what went wrong. The next question is, what needs work? Mm-hmm. Now, these answers come from inside them, but you have guided them to that place. And what they're learning is that, you know what? God, I did lose. I did not make the shot, but I did all these other things that went well. And I've learned these 3 things, and this is what needs work. So I'm going to become proactive rather than reactive. I missed a shot. Let's react to that. Or proactive, what needs work instead of what went wrong. Reactive, proactive. And now I go here and I say, you can do these 3 things, or have you thought of this? And I validate them. I say, that's a great point. You did a great job. That's brilliant. Have you thought of this? And I throw in my idea. That's the morning after. So it's very inappropriate to go up to a child after an event and start critiquing or talking about the game. Let them chill out. Let them, they don't want to hear about it. They don't want to debrief the game. In fact, there's another 5 words that you might want to use at that point, and that is, who wants to have dinner?
I love that, Luca.
After a soccer game on a Saturday morning, all the kids get in the car, and there's dad in the front seat turning around and saying, look, when that game gets down the last 3 minutes, what you've got to do is no, just sit up there in the front seat and say, who wants to have lunch?
Amen to that. Brilliant.
It's all fun. And sincerely say to them, I love watching you play.
Yeah.
I love watching you work.
Because we're in our kids' heads. I don't think a lot of parents realize that we are like it's like our parents are in our heads, and they don't have to be here. They could be gone a long time ago, but they're in our heads, and we're in our kids' heads too. And so they know what we'd be thinking, and to diffuse that by saying, "I love to watch you play," or "Let's eat, let's get ice cream, or let's get dinner, or whatever it may
That's
be.
fun.
Let's go get a beer," if you're a college kid or whatever. But but it diffuses it, and it just puts it right where it needs to be, because the self-criticism is the worst thing to get lost into, because it's such a downward spiral, and it's hard to come out of, and you need people to not let you go down that road. And it's most of them will go down that road anyway, but they don't need to, especially how destructive it could be. Go ahead.
We want to create a generation of kids who can critically think.
Mhm. Yeah,
That's the other part. That's the other part that's missing in a lot of this generation of the millenniums. They haven't learned to critically think. And how do you learn that? By being a parent who puts it back into the child and asks them the questions. What could be better? How could you learn from this? What did you learn? What needs work? Rather than the parent feeling, see, as parents, we live this illusion like we're supposed to tell the kids everything they need to know. Well, first of all, we can't do that. And secondly, is even if we could, it's not going to serve them really well, because I think based on their experience of life in life, we all have within us the ability to resolve our issues, to solve our problems, and the parent can be there. In the book, I talk about being a good waiter.
Mm.
A good sports parent is like being a good waiter. A good waiter doesn't come over to the table. Picture this: you're on a special date with your wife. You're out there having a wonderful time, and you have a bunch of food in your mouth, and the waiter comes over and says, "So how's your dinner?" And you got all this food in your mouth, right? And then 2 seconds later, he's coming over there, and you're in this intimate conversation, and he's pouring water into the glasses, and you take a sip of water, and there's 1 ounce out of it. He comes over and he fills it up again, as if he feels like, if I'm not doing this, I'm not being a waiter.
Yeah.
The good waiter is off in the corner. You can't even see that waiter. But he knows, or she knows, precisely at the right time that food that you're eating is not very pleasant, and he shows up at the table at that moment. Or he shows up when he really senses that, you know what, you're thirsty, you need something to drink. And so a parent needs to sense where the kid's at, what the kid needs, and to be there when necessary. But we're there too often. It's unnecessary, too much.
In your book, you mentioned that too, and we're running out of time. We got a few minutes left, but I just want to mention one thing about your code of conduct. But you mentioned in the code of conduct, what you're just saying right now is if the parents could detach from the outcome and just stay in that present moment, not worried about whether they win or not, but stay present, like you said, be the waiter in the background who just watches what the needs are, and then you be there to be that person, help them in that moment, and that, I think, is just a critical piece of it. Go ahead, you can say something. We got a couple more minutes.
That's why the subtitle says the power and joy of mindful sports parenting. And what that's being, Tim, as you say, you're saying the right thing right here, and you're helping us all to become more mindful, and that's what this is about.
Yes, absolutely. Well, Jerry, I think we run into a close here, but again, anything you want to share? One last advice to parents out there their kids are about to get involved in sports, and to be able to put them in check to make sure that they're going to be the best parent ever for their kid.
Just love watching them play, and that's it. It doesn't get any more simple.
Let them play, right?
Let them play.
Well, we've been talking with Jerry Lynch, author of Let Them Play and many other books, which maybe one of these days we can have you back, Jerry, talk about some of those other ones you're doing, or maybe the one you're writing. That'd be fun too. But I want to thank you for coming out and sharing your insight and your wonderful book. They could catch that, and I really appreciate that, Jerry. And I know the rest of our audience and followers will appreciate it too. So get out there, pick it up, Let Them Play. You can find it on Amazon, or go to wayofchampionships.com, or wayofchampions at wayofchampions.com, or wayofchampions@gmail.com. You could reach Jerry and have a little conversation with the Brooklyn boy over here. All right, Jerry, thanks again. I really appreciate coming out.
Thank you, Tim, and thanks for making a difference for so many of us.
Thank you.
In your work.
Okay, it's off there.
Is it off? All right, good. Hey, great work. I'll tell you what, Jerry, I really enjoyed that very much. So
I always make an attempt to to have fun and enjoy what I'm doing.
Oh,
And
you are entertaining. I tell you what, we have, not that we don't have a lot of entertaining, but some of the folks will come on, especially talking about this type of stuff. They're just, very informative what's going on, but it's a little dry. It's always great to have somebody with a sense of humor. And I'll tell you what, I have to say, I haven't interviewed someone. I interviewed a lot of people. I haven't interviewed someone who is from, who hasn't been from New York, who has been from New York, who wasn't funny and fun. Must be in the water. I don't know what it is.
I think we learned not to take ourselves too seriously,
Yeah, I agree.
because if we did, we'd really be in trouble in New York. Really would be. Honest to God.
Absolutely. I just wanted to say thank you personally. I know you're probably busy. You got 1,000 things to do out there. But I'd love to have you come back and we could have a lot more to talk about. You're a really great guest and great information too.
Well, I had a lot of fun with you, and I'm glad we did this.
Good, excellent.
In the beginning, it was a touch and go because of scheduling. And
Oh yeah, right.
that. And I get up every morning at 6 o'clock, and I do my meditation and I get ready for the day. And so this is a great start to my day, and today's Friday, and I try to keep Fridays pretty light, and I only have a couple of clients, and that's about it. So I'm thrilled. And I'd love to get those links and see that in person. And
Absolutely. In fact, we're gonna Kid Luke, we're gonna we'll edit the Collective Evolution one, and then we'll do Jerry's next. Okay,
Yep.
and hopefully we'll have it up either today or tomorrow.
fantastic. Wonderful.
And then what within like 10 minutes you could go to Blog Talk and you can listen to our radio show version of it, or you can go on Facebook Live and listen and watch our Facebook Live version of it. You can do that right away, and she'll send you some information on that, how to reach that. And then the Skype YouTube one will get up hopefully the next day or so.
That sounds terrific. Okay, thanks a lot, Tim.
Hey Jerry, thanks again. You take care. Have a great time.
You bet, my friend.
All right.
Bye-bye.